Hello, and welcome to Stroke by Stroke. I am in a non-sad, melancholy mood. I was awakened this morning by a thunderstorm, and I don't know, it's got me thinking about things. I love storms. I'm just gonna paint while I talk because I need to get something on this white so that the camera can deal. And that was just water. This is my mineral paper, and this is Black Artfinity liquid watercolor. And anyway, one of my favorite things to do, and it has been ever since I was a kid, was to read. And I also absolutely adore thunderstorms. Even though they make me hurt, I love them nonetheless. And I don't know, I've just been thinking about the book I'm trying to read. Ever since the stroke, I've had so much trouble trying to read because of the aphasia. And it was, when I was young, reading was my way of dealing with so much stuff. And the losing my ability to read was quite possibly one of the worst aspects of becoming disabled, at least for me. Because no matter what, if I was upset, life was too much, whatever, had a lot of trauma as a child. And it was always a safe haven. And I even wanted to be a writer, and I was actually pretty good about it. I had a short story published when I was 16, and I've had multiple poems published. And I always, in fact, writing saved my life when I was 16. I was going to, as they say these days, unalive myself. And I woke up, and I knew it was going to be my last day on Earth. And so I was going to have a good day, and then it would all be over. Well, when the mail came, it had a letter, and it was my acceptance letter for a publication called Merlin's Pen. And it's still around, I guess. And I have a couple copies of it. But because it came the day that it came, there was no way I was going to do that to myself, because, well, I had to see my short story and a piece of art that was actually also published with it, to illustrate my story. The story was called The Storm's Last Warning Prevails, and it was just a very short little piece, and this was 1986, I think, was when it was published. And it was basically about, it was just a scene of a storm. And it was a roller coaster where everybody was dead because the nuclear holocaust had happened. And you have to remember the 80s was very full of fears of nuclear annihilation. I wish I could say that today's kids don't have to deal with that sort of thing, that feeling of at any moment everything you know could just go away because of other people's actions, basically. But that is just, I think, part of modern life these days, which that makes me sad to think about. But anyway, and I always told myself I didn't know if I wanted to be a writer or an artist, and that whatever I got published first, art or writing, was how I was going to go. Well, they were both published at the same time. My ability to write was very important throughout my life, my professional life. I was one of those people that I never had to worry about making a paper. I would research it when I first got the topic or whatever, and then I would completely ignore it until like the day before it was due, and then I would just sit down and write it all at once. No rough draft. And this doesn't sound humble, but it's just the truth. I always got A's. I was a very good writer. The aphasia pretty much has taken that ability to write more or less away from me. It's very, very, very difficult now for me to try and write, but that's okay. And also, just as my ability to write has changed, so has my ability to read, remember, and comprehend complex things. And boy, that's been a change in my life. And yeah, so I know I'm just kind of rambling, but I'm in a space today. It's not bad at all. It's actually quite beautiful. And I was able to read until I couldn't today. And so I just decided I would make some art. I cracked the window behind me. I can't have it open too far because it'll rain in, but I also discovered when I went to crack the door that it was leaking around the door, so I'm gonna have to do something about that, but not right now. Right now, I'm just going to be in this space that I am and make art and talk with you all. It's actually kind of a nice place to be. And the sound of rain is so soothing to me. I know it is for a lot of people. My poor dog, she wasn't happy about the thunder. I have emergency pills I can give her. I haven't given her one because she has calmed down, but if I need to, I will. Yeah. So just contemplating life. I'm doing that a lot these days. It's been an interesting experience. Well, basically contemplating the end for myself. And I'm no longer suicidal, which is a very good thing. And I said that word, so I don't care. YouTube can do whatever it's going to do. Personally, I think it's stupid, all the rules. I get it, you know, and I know why it is that way, but I still think there's a lot that goes on in the world these days that may have started from a good space, but it's just, I don't know. Common sense is no longer a thing in a lot of ways. But I don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I'm reading a very interesting book. I can't remember the title of it. Thank you, Aphasia. And I read on the Kindle, which is hard on my hands too. My hands are killing me. That's the one thing about storms these days that is very difficult for me, because they come with pain, a lot of it. And I'm sure it's going to get worse as I get older, but it's something that most everyone is going to deal with if they are lucky enough, I guess I could say, to get to an age where your body does that. I know so many people who haven't made it this long. Many times it was almost me. But yeah. And I do believe that we are here for a purpose, and we don't know what that purpose is. But once we have fulfilled that purpose that we are here for, that's when we go, because we're done, you know. And that might be magical thinking, I don't know, but I think that there's a lot of comfort in that for me. It helps me understand how, you know, when I was 3.5 and my brother died at 22 months from a terrible disease. But, you know, there was purpose. And the purpose for everyone involved is different. You know, it losing my father, and then 3 months later my brother, and then 6 months later my only living grandparent, it broke my mother, actually. I think in many, many ways it was harder for her than it is for me, because it happened when I was so young. It's just been one of the defining parts of my existence. And that sounds incredibly egotistical, And I genuinely don't mean it that way at all. I just mean that my experience with all that is different just because of developmental stage that I was. You know, I grew up in the shadow of all that death. And I think that, you know, throughout my life, I think I have brought some positive stuff into the world. I think that's part of why Stroke by Stroke is so important to me, because I've learned a lot about living with disabilities that basically came very, very quickly. And in a weird way, it's like the universe worked to allow me to be able to do art. Because when I was a therapist, I did art, but that wasn't really my focus. I didn't do nearly as much as I wanted to for myself, just because I was always busy, you know? But the universe has conspired to remove the roadblocks for me to be an artist. And I am. That's what I'm doing. And there's a reason for that, even if I don't quite understand. And yes, I am a person who, it's like I'm driven to explore and understand meaning. If I can't find meaning in something, I will pick at it until I do. And of course, you know, I'm the one bringing the meaning, I think. But even so, I think it's, I don't know, it's my worldview, you know. And I know a lot of people, especially on social media, which, you know, like it or not, YouTube is social media, they tend to shy away from things that don't feel good, don't look good, don't, you know, there's a lot of variables in place. And, you know, I'm not here to blame anybody for anything, really. You know, even the DV situation with my ex-husband. I stayed with him for so long because I understood the struggles that he was dealing with. But then it became too dangerous to me to continue, and so I had to stop. I think in some ways I thought that it was my journey to take care of him. Hello, codependence, because that is codependence AF. you know. And now I'm to a point where I can see that a lot more clearly than when I was in it. I remember my therapist in New Mexico, who was amazing, she would say to me before any of that stuff really happened, there have been other things, but that it involved guns as well. And she would say to me that I wasn't as safe as I thought I was. And I genuinely, my reaction to that was, well, that's what it looks like from the outside. But I would tell her, it's like, I'm safe. And I wasn't. So, yeah. And I know I'm just rambling on. Who knows? When I am working on this video, I may actually just do a speed painting and you guys may not hear any of this. I don't know. I will know when I get there. I am very, very big about trusting the process. I learned that when I was learning to become an art therapist. It was something I heard over and over again from my professors and so on and so forth, and it's true. If you trust the process, it will show you. Because everything that I need, that you need, is already there within, you, in my case, me. And that has been proven to me over and over again. In fact, one of my friends said I was like a cat. I always land on my feet. Well, I'm not sure that I always land on my feet, but I'm still here. So that is a lot. Just knowing that, yeah, I'm still here. Everything that the universe has opened for me, good, bad, indifferent. Yeah. Okay, so I have used black and cerulean hue, and what is that, burnt sienna, I think? Yeah, burnt sienna Artfinity, and now this is that matte acrylic craft paint that I had watered down significantly. Now listening to rain just really is so soothing to me, and I really missed rain when I was in New Mexico. That was one thing that was sad to me. I would go places just to try and catch a storm, It's a desert. What more could I expect, really? And I never thought I would ever say this, especially before I had moved to New Mexico, but I ended up getting sick of the sun. It was sunny so much, and where I lived was in a rain shadow, which means the way that the mountains were, the storms would go around me, not generally, and it's not always true. I mean, there were some big storms, but nothing like being in Indiana. And the book that I'm reading takes place south of Australia, in the middle of nowhere, on an island. So water is definitely on my mind right now. And apparently that was a very messy process for my paint bottle. And now this is just water. And you can see how the color is in the water. You know, I never knew that droppers would introduce bubbles so easily. This is a very mindful experience today for me. Just being with the paint and the rain and you all. It's fascinating to me. It's that curiosity again. I've always been a very curious person. In more ways than one. This is a really soothing process. You know, and as a therapist too, something that really appealed to me was just being with. And like right now, I'm just being with the paint. And of course, with you guys, but and watching how certain things will go to the water or the paint, and in other situations it just runs away from it. So that's really cool. You know, this image has a lot to do about the path of least resistance here. Maggie really does not like when the neighbors make any kinds of sounds. it's interesting for me to also think about how, as different colors in this image hit one another, how they blend and create something different. And that's a very powerful metaphor, I think, because everything affects everything else. Kind of goes back a little bit to that purpose, that feeling of purpose. Because if I think about this painting and my life, everything that I add, everything that I remove, every time I tilt it, it becomes different. Just as when I do things, or things are taken away, or my world gets tilted, and sometimes it's just not pretty. And other times there's beauty that just takes my breath away. So just letting things be and not judging. There's huge life lessons from this painting for me. And Maggie doesn't like any of it, so. Because it's so humid because of the rain, it's interesting how that affects this image drying. And that's interesting. I didn't brush, I didn't clean off the brush before I went over here, so some of this ended up over here, which, if I'm gonna continue thinking about this as a metaphor for my life, that makes perfect sense. I have friends who are feeling so lonely. I think that's a big thing these days for folks. Ever since I think it started, well, who knows? But I do think that the pandemic lockdown really affected people in so many ways that we're just now starting to see. And it's interesting because I don't get bored. I pretty much never have. And other people talk about feeling bored, and it makes me wonder a little bit, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel bored? Am I just lying to myself? Don't know. Of course, being neurospicy, and a lot of my friends are neurospicy too. I don't know. I think it comes back to the theme that's been showing up for me a whole lot in the last few images, the last few days for me. It's curiosity. If I'm curious, how can I be bored? You know? I also have a friend who basically worries about my F up and find out kind of attitude. Nah, you know, I think maybe that person has a reason to worry about me. But because they love to say curiosity killed the cat. And then, of course, I always say back, but satisfaction brought him back. You know, this is just the burnt sienna again. Yeah, I don't know. I actually am happy that I don't get bored. I've never understood how people could get bored personally, because there's always something to think about or do, or, you know, just especially these days, you know, since the internet has come around, there's a lot more opportunity to explore things. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm just going to use one of my dot tools. I got these for clay, actually. And the rain is really picking up. And all I'm doing here is just coaxing the colors around, creating new paths of least resistance here. Oh yeah, that is definitely leaking. Oh boy. Like a lot. It's just pouring in around my window. Contact my insurance about this. We'll see. Great. There's nothing I can do about it while it's raining. Jeez. Lovely. The reason I think this is going to be an expensive experience is because the wood around the window is very cheap, like particle board kind of thing, and it's wet and it's swelling. There's obviously been a problem here before, I just was never aware of it. I could see that in the past it had swollen there. Or sure, we're gonna go with swollen. I don't know if that's the right word. But anyway, I put a towel and a little bucket there as best I can. I bet you can hear it. I had the window open just a crack, but this is at the bottom of the window. So having a window open would have made no difference here with this particular leak. Great. And I have a $1,000 deductible on my insurance, so of course I do. Great. You know, when there's nothing I can do about it, just sitting here and worrying about it's not going to change it, not going to help it. So I'm just going to paint. Sometimes the answer is to just paint. And this is the first leak I've had in the trailer since I've lived here. And this is the first house or dwelling that I've ever had that didn't have serious roof problems. At Sanctuary Grove, it was an underground house, so it had issues. At the Dome, it was a dome, and the wind, you know, took off a lot of the shingles, the roofing shingles, and it was going to be like a ridiculous amount of money to fix it, and I couldn't afford it. And that was I knew it had leaks when I bought it, but my health, my ex-husband's health changed, and we found ourselves pretty much unable to do anything, and then I wasn't able to work anymore. So, yep, we bought it, or we sold it. We bought it too, but we were able to sell it. Yeah. And I had just started kind of relaxing because I would get so anxious when it would rain. It's like, okay, what's going to leak now? And I had just started getting over that feeling. So I hear you, universe. I know you're telling me I'm not done. Okay. And so the way I am now, I'm starting to, it's like, okay, what does leaking mean metaphorically? And that kind of thing. And sometimes it just means there's a hole somewhere. And other times, you know, if I think about it, I can find a lesson in it. I had to shut the bottom of the window there because it did start raining a lot and I didn't want it to get worse. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, the rain is slowing down, so yay. Okay, now I'm going to come back here and do some more. Now with the window shut, it's starting to feel pretty sticky in here. And I hate humidity. That's the one thing, you know, about storms. Of course, if you're going to have storms, you're going to have humidity. So it makes it kind of a love-hate relationship in a lot of ways. I'm going to come here to a smaller dot tool, and I'm not using for dots, but that sounds about right for me, doesn't it? Alright, now I'm coming here to a small brush, very small brush. And a little bit bigger brush, but still small. Well, the good part is the water isn't making sound right now, so I'm assuming that when it's not raining, it's not going to be a problem. Of course, I might have to do something. See, and that's one of the issues with living on a fixed income only. I really can't afford a lot of expensive repairs. So, but it will be all right. That's one thing I have learned. You know, have a tendency to have a lot of anxiety about things because, well, you know, life has kind of taught me that. But it's also taught me that eventually everything works out, one way or another. And it just may not be the way that you expected or wanted, but It seldom is in real life. If I put my head sideways, I can see which parts of the white here is still thick and still dry, not dry. So I can do some subtle things here in it. I'll lift out some of the white here. I'm so fortunate that I was actually at my studio table when it was raining like that, because now I know. Otherwise, I would have not really looked at it and I would have just assumed it was old. But it's not, it's brand new. And now I'm gonna spritz. And this is chameleon green, and this is mica powder. And another spritz. And this is just a silicone shaper. And this is the FW gold acrylic ink that is extremely thinned down. Get. And this is a dry hage brush that I've tried to get rid of the hairs that might be sticking to it. And you know how I create worlds and then I destroy them, so here we go. All right, and this is a gloss. Are you serious? Anyway, this is gloss medium. And that was cerulean. And this is just the gloss medium again. And this is the burnt sienna. And now it's time to use my hands. Maybe. I'm thinking. And this is a little bit of the black. Okay, I'm probably going to unalive this fly soon. Stupid fly. And this is just that chameleon green mica. It's also putting dirt on it. Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. I don't have my phone on the charger. And I have no idea how much time it's been. And let's see if I can screw it up with my hairdryer. I hear a creature. And it's probably one that's going to come and try and step on this. All right, I'm gonna let this dry on its own. Pray that a cat or somebody doesn't get into it, but I think this is gorgeous, personally. And when it dries, if it needs, I'll put a whole coat of the glossy, because I really do like this glossy look for this one. All right, walking away right now, if I can get up. Well, I couldn't just leave it alone, so after I turned it off, I added some more of the mica and it clumped, so I added some more of the gloss medium and used my hairdryer a little bit. So I'm gonna let this dry now. Famous last words, I know. And see what I have either tonight or tomorrow. And we'll just have to see.